Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, no energy. Good evening. God, my academics, come on. Good evening. I don't want your students to say good evening. Good evening. Oh, that's better. I'd like to welcome all the attendees and the panelists who've joined us in person, and there are a few who've joined us online. Hi, Corey. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to invite all of you to take this opportunity to build on this opportunity to make a community of practice. Now, this platform is to learn from each other, the expertise, perspectives, and engage and be a part of this community as a growing organization. We've gathered here today to dwell on the critical role of NBFCs in the Indian financial landscape. NBFCs have emerged as significant players, providing a wide range of financial services to individuals and businesses. I'm delighted to have all of you here and would like to take this opportunity to introduce Regenesis Group. This group was founded in 1998 by three unique entrepreneurs, Dr. Marco, Dr. Penny, and Mr. Williams, who initiated the Regenesis Business School, which is dedicated to transforming the world, cultivating conscious leaders and managers. Our reach spreads across the globe, and we are opening in 10 more countries, making us one of the fastest growing edtech companies globally. We have excelled beyond a business school, with School of Law, School of Technology, Digital Regenesis, and Corporate Education, just to name a few. As we speak, our alumni base is 300,000 students across 190 countries, with our internal experts of about 100 plus faculty and doctorate holders. Regenesis Corporate Education India is a part of the group dedicated in empowering organizations through innovative and impactful learning solutions. We specialize in providing corporate training and development designed to meet the evolving needs of businesses across various industries. Our tailored programs are crafted to enhance leadership capabilities, foster managerial excellence, and drive strategic technology innovations within the organization. Taking this opportunity, I'd like to welcome our partner today. We have Shamita Shetty. Shamita is a dynamic leader, and she's the director of Regenesis India and Global Head Sales. She is a serial entrepreneur with over 20 years of dynamic experience. She's a pioneer and a driving force to success of various businesses of Regenesis. She's dedicated to crafting unique, meaningful experiences that just go beyond conventional ways, emphasizing on adventure, culture immersion, and sustainability. Welcome, Shamita. We have Corey Baker. He was the ex-CEO of PayU and was a global CEO of PayU in the African market and other global markets. He's a visionary leader and seasoned executive with over 25 years of experience driving business growth, optimizing revenue, and building high-performing teams in fintech and edtech. His expertise span international markets, having developed and executed a strategic payment platform with over 300 payment methods across 44 African countries. With a passion for harnessing the power of technology to transform African business landscape, Corey capitalizes on untapped opportunities through strategic innovation and leadership. He's the group CEO of FinEdTech, Ed for All, and Study All. Thank you for joining us from Africa, Corey.
Thank you, Monica.
Dr. Marco is a founder and chairperson of Regenesis. He's built the company for the past 26 years into a respected education institute. He has been an entrepreneur, a development worker, and an educationalist. Marco obtained his PhD in performance management and served on boards of several private and nonprofit companies. He's the author of the best-selling book Success Stories. He's inspired and touched the lives of hundreds of thousands of people across the world. Welcome, Dr. Marco. You've already CEO. He's a dynamic global business leader in the edtech space. He comes with close to 2 decades of experience and has been a pioneer in bringing unique and innovative learning initiatives to the corporate space. He has been a thought leader in impacting corporate learning across continents. Welcome, Viju. Manu is passionate about creating dynamic, high-performing teams reflect his mission to empower talent and foster positive organizational culture. He's a recipient of the Young Millennial HR Leaders and HR Excellence, as well as being featured in the ST HR Edelweiss Mutual Fund. Taranam is a HR L&D professional with specialization in OD, Organization Development and Change, Systems Thinking, Leadership Development, Performance Management, and Talent Management. With around 2 decades of experience, industries like telecom, textile, IT, and financial services, she's committed to helping people and workforce find direction and live better. Currently, she's serving as the Vice President Learning. Vipin, with over 18 years of professional experience in human resource and learning and org development, Vipin is a distinguished expert in the field. His career spans prestigious organizations such as Moneybox Finance Limited, Jana Small Finance Limited, Jana Lakshmi Financial Services, Reliance Communication, Bharti Airtel, and others. As a seasoned HR professional, Vipin excels in various HR functions, aligning workforce strategies with organization goals to foster productivity work environment. Now is the wow. His contributions have earned many accolades, including top 20 emerging L&OD leaders, top 20 L&OD visionary leaders, top 10 HR leaders in India by the C-Suite magazine CEO Insight. Great to have you here, Vipin. Paran heads training and development at Swasti. He has an overall experience of 23 years and is a seasoned learning and OD strategist. Before joining Swasti, Paran worked for reputed BFSI companies in India like Suryodai Small Finance, RBL FinServ, and Fino. Paran has a development award and recognition. He's humble, he's not stated over the years, including most recently being recognized as a changer at the ITL Award by Software. Sandeep Das is a learning and development leader with over 20 years of extensive experience in the BFSI, petroleum, retail, and real estate industries. He currently serves as a Finance Limited. A pleasure having you here, Sandeep. Karmista is a seasoned leader with over 28 years of experience in leading businesses, HR consulting, global and in India. She specializes in developing impactful strategies that drive transformative change across diverse industries. Her expertise includes fostering cross-culture synergies, leading global talent management strategies, enabling and cultivating transformative leaders within multinational organizations. Her experience spans orchestrating successes, performance culture, and digitization initiatives across diverse regions such as Asia, Europe, US, Middle East, and has worked in prominent organizations such as Axis Bank, Mahindra and Mahindra, Samsung. Finally, I get to meet you. Harsh Arvista. Sunil, he has 15 years of experience in training and development, sales, business development, process improvement, quality control, inclusive of entrepreneurial experience. He's an expert in ensuring sufficient human, financial, technological, informational, and material resources are available to carrying most of the businesses out. He has an innate flair for accepting challenges and abilities in managing and leading sales functions and achieving desired targets. Well, lucky I kept you in the end. Mark is skilled and a well-rounded BA OT practitioner with experience across consulting and line roles. His professional experience revolves around diagnosing, designing, and executing human-centric organization strategies aligned to business objectives using behavioral science and organization growth and employee well-being. An executive vice president with Kotak Mahindra Life Insurance, he heads OD, DEI, and employee experience. Additionally, he's contributing journalists to national dailies on the beats of business, art, culture, and social politic issues. Welcome, Mark. Looks like the Bombay traffic beat you. The NBFC sector in India is undergoing a rapid metamorphosis, driven by technology advancement and evolving customer expectation. As digital disruption reshapes business models and customer interaction, the roles of HR and L&D in navigating this transformative landscape. As we explore the talent this digital era, digital world of finances.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for the introduction, and welcome to all our esteemed panel members. I think to set the context for today's discussion, I'd like to highlight that the non-financial banking sector in India is indeed undergoing a significant transformation. Technology is revolutionizing the way business operates, and the customer expectations are changing rapidly. This disruption presents both challenges and opportunity for our learning and development leaders. I think the biggest challenge is keeping up with technology, and with the introduction and adoption of these technologies, we find ourselves in a difficult space where we have to educate the end user or the subscriber, but also our support users in our different corporate structures. We've also seen the role change from getting like AI and chatbots in play to promote self-service and empowering the end user. With this, we have to make our employees subject matter experts to adopt these technology challenges, help guide the end user, and this can be achieved through online learning mechanisms, but then also academies. I think one of the key things that we find challenging with is where does the formal education come to bring these technology, financial, and compliance elements together, and how we can work with a foundation and then customize that to our corporate initiatives and what technologies we adopt. And on that note, I would like to open up the floor and give it back to the panel to open up this discussion. Thank you very much.
has been a driving force behind NBFC sector growth. The adoption of digital platforms has enabled NBFC to broad streamline operation, reduce cost, and enhance overall customer. My first question to Manoj and Taranam. As the NBFC moves from a traditional setup to the new digital way, what are the best practices adopted by your organization to navigate the new way, win customers, and upskill and retain your best employees?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, so thank you for this question. A very close to my heart question, and I'm lucky to have this one. What do? We do a lot of things, but at the core and heart of it is we segregate and we understand our employees very well in terms of, I'm sure you would have heard of generations and segregating the generations basis the way their characteristics come up, those characteristics to engage and ring fence them. So, to begin with, as for what do we do for our employees when we go to the digital world, instant gratification is one of the characteristics that we use and we know for our this kind of employees who are now entering the sales force, as we say. And 80% of our organization, of course, is the sales driven or maybe sales employees, as we say. So we use instant gratification techniques where we use LMS platforms, we use nuggets, bite-sized learnings to ensure that our employees at the first place are well equipped with the knowledge, but at the same time they are also engaged in getting that transfer of knowledge and utilizing that knowledge. So how do I receive and therefore how do I transfer or utilize that knowledge? So that's with the employees. With our customers, very surprisingly, I'm sure the data we all know that even in the rurals, we operate in deep rurals. Okay, our organization does that. And it would be quite surprising to know that even in deep rurals, today's world has digital, internet, mobile, the usage that we see of Amazons and Flipkarts of the world has tossed around the numbers even more in rurals compared to the urbans, and therefore we utilize this strategy to reach our customers also. So digital payments is one way we utilize online connectivity with the clients to ensure that they get regular services is what we look at for the customers. So 2 points for employees: instant gratification and bite-sized learnings is for employees, and for rural customers we look at digital payments and digital access and online instant support for our customers. Manoj, I request you to add on. Thank you.
So at Agloice, the way we have looked at learning is, apart from what we do from a learning perspective, we looked at our organization structure. Like, can organization structure facilitate learning? And ultimately, what we came up with that, we have created clusters, right? Like, for example, a product function doesn't exist in silo. It's clubbed with functions like marketing and digital. Now, what ultimately it does is it promotes a culture where you start learning from the departments which are adjacent to you. And if you look at the foundation of the world we are living in, which is a digital world, which is changing, like, say, every 6 months or 1 year, most important components from a culture standpoint is that what is your critical problem solving ability? What is your ability to collaborate? What is your ability to innovate? And we have realized that just by tweaking the organization structure a bit, you can facilitate some form of innovation which will come into picture. Second aspect was that when we talk about digital technology, we said that it needs to start from the top, which meant that the learning programs, before they go to the down level employees, it was at the top level, right? Like, for example, all the leadership was asked that you need to learn one coding language, right? You need to work on a project which includes a technology element. So those are a couple of the things we did. I want to share a very interesting story, like, which will tell you how exactly it happens on the ground. One fine day, I received a mail from one of my customer service executives who work in Patna. And, the guy can barely speak English, but when I was reading the mail which he has written to the end customer, it was in fantastic English. And you can, from the language only, you can understand that this is something which is copy pasted from ChatGPT. Now, and we took it to our boardroom. We said that this is a very interesting case, right? And we ultimately felt that this is not the language which is being spoken in Bihar, right? Ultimately, the customer will also feel that I'm talking to a machine, and that is not the experience we want to give to our customers, right? And we had a discussion, and our CTO said that it is just about tweaking the prompt which you give to ChatGPT, right? Like, for example, the moment you tweak your chat and say, like, reply to the customer in a layman's language, right? And right now, ChatGPT is not, it does reply in Hindi, but not in local Bihari. But still, we said that, like, if we teach these simple things to our end level customer service executives, maybe it's a fantastic learning and it's a very practical learning which will happen. So we are doing some of these smaller things along with that, as I said, focus on leadership being trained, and ultimately how do we change that culture where we bring those elements where ultimately it will prepare the organization to do better in a digital world.
So that's the question on Gen AI itself. So Sandeep and Parun, the question is directed to you. How is the organization integrating Gen AI at the department level, and what benefits have you observed? Can you share specific examples of how Gen AI implementation are driving value across different functions?
Thank you. So I think, irrespective of the question that you asked to any panelist, Gen AI is going to be the common thread across all. So that itself shows how important generative AI has become. It was, I think, one of the fastest adoption of a mass scale. While there have been other technologies which have been adopted, but I think primary user base, as Manu spoke about, that somebody in Bihar could very easily use ChatGPT. So that shows how deeply ingrained generative AI has already become at a mass level. So it is now imperative for any organization to adopt that. If you don't adopt, then your employees will, of course, say, see, I at my level already know what is ChatGPT, and nobody in my organization is using it. So that would be the most foolish thing to do. I'm sure everybody here uses generative AI in some form or other. The use cases are very different for all the different departments. So being from the HR fraternity, first I will talk about HR. So everybody uses some or other platform. In fact, the technology usage within any organization, HRMS, learning management systems. A lot of human gratuity letter, or you retire somebody, the entire life cycle now becomes easy through use a lot of manual effort, reduce a lot of errors that used to creep up in any kind of this manual effort. Then we have your payroll, all platforms. Everything now happens through a platform. Gone are the days when Excel sheets were used to manage everything. While Excel corporate space, even now, our dependency has gone down significantly. Coming to learning space has always been agile to adopt generative AI. So all learning management platforms, in some form of other, they've started integrating generative AI. And one of the biggest change that I see today, platform and content were two separate businesses. Now they've started. I would like to hand it over to my next colleague. But what generative AI is doing today is bringing the world closer, and we as an organization are using generative AI across multiple functions, whether it is finance, whether it is from an organization point of view. People are using generative AI because it is a freely available tool. So that's separate. But organization at every level, we are a 100% digitized company, paperless company. Our entire customer dealing happens without a single paper being collected or being given to the customer. So that itself shows that how fast we have been able to adopt the various technology to improve our customer experience. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Pareen, and I'm working for a company called Swasti Microfinance. We are a MFI. It's a little smaller than the other financial institutions. But then coming to Gen AI, it's a big word for us. Okay. So we are a very typical finance company wherein we talk about at a ground level. So we internally, because again, if everyone knows about what microfinance business is, we have a very thin line in terms of our OPEX, our expenditure versus income. So we don't have that leverage to go for a very fancy AI generation application or something like that. So we try and do work internally, and we talk about some tools to generate some automated reports. So we are in continuous effort wherein we can make human efforts lesser. And obviously, when my friend said, Sandeep said, a lot of errors been reduced. So I will talk about two important things, and I'm very proud of working in our organization. First, let's talk about a tool which we have generated for entire organization. And I was pretty surprised when I took this my department into that particular auto-generated tool, wherein we have generated a platform where everybody, like he said, everyone has to chip in their data in one platform, and then you can get numerous number of outcomes. So training, again, what I feel is that I before using this tool, I was never aware that there are a lot of other aspects that we can monitor and we can get feedback on. So we have a tool called Power BI. Hope you've heard about it. Yeah, it's a beautiful tool which we use and I have adopted. So when we put the data, entire training is now put in that particular application, and the reports that are being generated, the figures that come out, the feedback that come out is marvelous, eye opener. I get a lot of mandate for myself, for my team to discuss with in our review meetings, our weekly meetings. We get such beautiful reports like training man hours. What man hours a trainer has completed in a month? What trainer who has gone out on the field has completed the field man hours, training man hours. A trainer is taking how many trainings a month, how many breaks he's taking. Everything is being jotted in that particular tool. And I, as a leader, because I'm sitting at a centralized location and I don't have access to everywhere. We're working in 8 states, and it's very difficult to manage a team which is not in front of you. So this is only a report which can give me a glimpse of what I need to do further. So this is a very beautiful tool that has been adopted by us and beautifully managed by other teammates also for their review. Another thing which we are very proud and which will be we have been the pioneer in the sector to launch. We are already in the pilot phase. We already successfully done it with a customer-facing app. We have developed internally all. So the customer-facing app, we call it the CFA app. You will soon see a lot of things in the media. That we have generated an app for a customer. That if a customer wants to log in, we have created an application for them by a Face ID. For them, we have recorded the Face IDs, and they can log in and they can see that data, how much EMIs they have paid, how much they have yet to pay, if they want to prepay, what is the amount, because this creates an awareness in the fraternity that you don't need a person to come and tell you that itna paisa baki hai, aapko itna paisa bharna hai, itna EMI hai. Everything is there in the app for the customer. Anytime you can see by just a face application. So this also reduce fraud on the field, and this is a very new thing that we have discovered, and with fingers crossed we're gonna work very fine, and other people also look at it very soon. So these are the two examples that we've done, one for our employees and our customers. So right now we are at a stage where we just talk about some automated tools, not Gen AI, but then we keep it very simple for us. That's about it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. This brought me to the next question. There's a lot of disruption happening in your industry. Okay, and I'm going to ask this question to the expert. So, Corey, this question is for you. How are fintech companies disrupting the traditional NBFC sector globally?
Thanks, Monica. Yes, fintech is it's all over the place these days, and everything is translated as fintech. Some people say it's a race to zero. Other people are making small fortunes. But we're seeing that with the consolidation of global fintech players merging, and there's a lot of acquisition happening, and the guys are really focusing on not just the payment sector, but the digital banking, the lending, the insure, and other value-add verticals to bring it together. Where the fintech side is really disrupting, and the latest trends is where they are going into the technology space, because most of the fintech technology adoption has been from a modern technology. And this is now, instead of competing with your traditional banking sector, they are building the rails that the bank is adopting. So we're seeing a lot of the fintech entities plugging into that banking sector, fast tracking that conversions into digital banking and becoming a technology partner. We also see that in that conversions that the mobile operators are playing in that space, and there's this trifactor that's coming together with the card gateways and the acquirers. But with fintech, it's always a challenge, and transactional cost is the main challenge, and how many hops they have to do to get closer to source. And the biggest challenge that we see is from that unbanked or cash conversion from offline to online into stored value, and then where people don't actually hold the value there. So everything is done for the convenience of dispersing that funds into either bill settlement or utility bill settlement. And this is where the banking side is now feeding the fintech side to facilitate that. On the micro lending side, I think compliance has always been a big issue, but we're seeing that, especially in India, where your central bank has made a sandbox where new technology can be plugged into, and they can have some transparency of what's to come. And compliance has been fast-tracked according to the development of those financial technologies, and they are made compliant from the onset, so that long disbursement between waiting for a compliance or legislating factor to catch up with technology is disrupted. I think fintech is going to become more and more important, especially from a local perspective, where certain, especially in emerging markets, where certain adoptions are fast-tracked and the cost of data is coming down, and that interaction or that AI or that automation is playing a big role. If we think these days of micro lending and how a loan is dispersed through a mobile phone, and the digitalization of that biometrical side, and everybody's got a scorecard that can quantify what risk is associated with the amount that's being that the loan that's being offered and the return on investment, and everything is future calculated. And I think moving forward, technology is going to play a big role, but that adoption is going to be key. And there's a lot of spaces that's getting left behind, especially in Africa, where connectivity still plays a big role, and USSD and more primitive platforms are still very prominent. If you think of M-Pesa in Kenya, a big part of their business is still based on these USSD type of platforms. But we also see that the smartphone adoption has become very radical, especially in Africa, and the data costs is coming down, and some corporate or some fintech entities are actually zero rating that data for better adoption. So in conclusion, I think fintech's very disruptive. It's been very disruptive. There's a disbursement of technologies that's sitting in different lanes. If we think of lending, if we think payment, if we think stored value, and if we think how these technologies are coming together. And I think instead of competing with the traditional financial sector, there is more of a merge that's happening. And the technology adoption or the transition to that technology is becoming easier between these traditional entities and these more future forward entities.
Thanks, Corey. That was insightful. But then he led me to another question. Okay, and you're in trouble. With the increasing importance of data in decision making, how are HR and L&D leaders in NBFC fostering a data-driven culture within the organization? What initiatives or practices have been implemented to ensure that the data that comes in helps you in strategies and drive organization success? I want Bipin and Sunil to take this question.
Hi everyone. When it comes to data is a new fuel, okay? And without fuel, your business never works. So when we talk about business, there are two things. One is sales and one is collection. So I will preferably talking on the collection piece because that is one of the critical aspect for the sector NBFC, wherein we already mentioned, Taranum already mentioned that we do business into deep rural areas. So wherein technology is available, but at the same time, the challenges we face with regards to the collection, regularization of the collection. So what do we do generally that time? We take care of the challenges in terms of generating data. How do we generate data? So we have our own applications. Okay, so through that applications, we track customers' online payment. So what we do is while customer take loan from us, we do a PNACH and ENACH. That's an electronic, payment collection methods. And wherever we find that there is a challenge with regards to the bouncing into EMI or something like that, we immediately the branch will get to know through an SMS, okay, where the payment is not been received by us. The next moment, the field officer will reach out to the customer immediately, sensitize the customer. There are cases where customer has forgotten to keep the balance in the account, and there are cases where customer says, I don't have money as of now, So we keep that in follow-up. But however, doing all this into when we make this into data, we get to know that overall pan-India collection productivity is approximate 1.89% of delinquency is what we see. But at the same time, when we further deep dive into 1.89 collection, we get to know which all states, which all branches, or which area are the troublemaker for us. And that is how we can, decide whether we want to go ahead and do business there further, or we restrict ourselves, doing more business there. So data is insightful. Data give you every clarity and make you your business to an stable decision making. Okay, so I think I would be giving this mic to my friend who would further add.
Hi, so I'm Sunil Mohan and I'm from India Info Line. So when I talk about data, two things are very close to my heart in my professional life. One is, of course, L&D, and second is data. I don't know how I got this question right now over here. So correct me if I'm wrong. I think we have a lot of L&D people. In your laptop, if you go back and check, the 80% of your files will be Excels. Normally, we think it will be PPT, but believe you me, you can correct me. It's data. We all have that with us. So when we look at data and which is important to which function, it will sales, collections. It is important to all functions. Any function you take, I can talk about it. Let's start with HR. So I'll talk from my experience in how data was used. So I'll talk about what was my previous role in IT Birla. We took a system in which will give the HRBP information about what will be the trend of this employee resigning. This data was already available with us. They started collating the data. And what they need to do, just to ensure that, okay, who is in the red flag or on the orange side, take initiative so that the attrition can be controlled. Now, coming back to L&D, what are our bases? What we do in IF? Again, data was always there. Business has a data flowing in saying how many businesses happened. L&D has a data flowing, how many people were trained. We got into productivity. We started linking both. Now, whenever training was happening, after 1 month, we release a data, which is collecting the sales data and the learning data. And it was very clearly visible the movement of people from non-productive bucket to the productive bucket. And who remains low, we are able to do a corrective measure too. So that is pertaining to that. Now, again, being close to business. Right now, again, there's another problem that sales, as you were saying, sales has a problem. Every morning, the sales head, from the business head down to the other levels of managers, will take input from people, what will be the business for the day, on a paper or on an Excel. Or who they will be traveling. Evening, the branch will give you a report, okay, I committed this. Second day, the first day is forgotten. Third day. We actually are building a data system in place. I think we are actually live in the project along with Sandeep, wherein we are automating this. So this will actually, in a couple of months, will give us a data commitment to delivery. So the sales leaders will be able to take decisions and where they should focus according to the gap in the commitment and delivery. So if I talk about data, sorry, I'll be taking long on it, but what is our strategy in ensuring data and how it is being utilized in the organization? Again, a top-down approach. We had the leaders going into a session wherein how data digitalization can help. Post that, we went to all functions and we approached them, and we are actually doing a training from bottom up. So we are putting people right now, we are not very Power BI, but we have taken people to basics and advanced of Excel. Because otherwise, you don't know it, they'll not be able to reach the next level. I can say that if we are able to equip our people onto these skill levels on data management, the Excel sheet that is lying unused inside can give a lot of inferences. That's all.
Okay, I would like to add something. He has a very valid point. Data is something which is, we can't depend on somebody. That is also one fact. Okay, even somebody will send me a data, I will recheck it. Okay, and I will recheck it whether the data is correct or not. To the point, I will log into the system. I will, regenerate the MIS from the system, and I will again do a pivot or something, and I will cross check whether data is correct or not. So data, as I mentioned, that it's a fuel. We need to understand as an L&D, what do we do with the data? There are so many things, like as he mentioned, TNI, training need identification, understanding people capabilities, capacity, the outcome to the work, responsibility has been assigned to them. That has been tracked through data. And data is so critical for every vertical that has to be analyzed in, maybe a sales head will analyze in his manner, he will run his thought process behind it. Okay. So, and maybe a sales manager will have a different thought to it. Okay. And he will represent as per his understanding to the data. So data is something, when coming to a same consensus, it would be challenging. It cannot be, so easy to understand data unless otherwise there is a platform which generate. So somebody mentioned some time back that they are already working on a platform. So I'll tell you that Moneybox has a platform called Sikka. Sikka is an application which is available, and that has everything inside the application. Even my customer has a repayment schedule. Okay, my customer knows which EMI has been paid, which is balanced, how much is balanced to pay, what are the interest, what are the late payment charges been charged. So everything is in place now, and it helps customers also, to the branches and to the HODs, that yes, this is the current situation. At any given point of time, just a click, we get to know what is happening across with the subject collection or some other aspect. Okay, I think I would be ending my interaction here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You spoke about leadership being trained and you spoke about the junior level being trained. Something that we've missed out is the middle management, and in the NBFC sector, according to my research, maximum attrition is happening there. So I have a question for Sharmista and Mark. Middle management plays a crucial role in driving operational excellence. How's your organization leveraging L&D department to enhance operational and execution excellence? Can you share any specific strategies or examples that you've implemented making it a success?
Great question. Difficult to possibly answer quickly. Yeah, so we discovered that, and I'm talking about especially in the bank, Axis Bank, where we did an extensive amount of work. So we realized that, it's a 25, 30-year-old industry. As a result of that, the leadership ecosystem is actually not quite well nurtured. Everyone has been busy, getting business, getting numbers. So one of the things we first did is to put together a leadership ecosystem kind of a framework, saying that what is our expectation out of the leaders? And we divided into three parts, which is mindset, which is capability, synergy, and also, of course, outcomes. So once that was kind of done, and then we said, now we have to do something which is important. So there were two problem statements we essentially I would like to talk about. One is the culture of execution excellence. With the new managing director coming in, he said, execution is the key. He would make some very, very grave comments, which I'm not going to put up here, but, which made all of us realize how important execution is. And the other area is attrition that you talked about. So, very high levels of attrition. So what do you do? So for the execution, what we said is we actually strategized to three parts. We said first, we introduced an initiative called Let's Talk. Right. So how do you really have conversations and dialogues with your teams? So that became very, very critical. Otherwise, everyone is saying why this has not happened. How can we change it? But where are the dialogues? The second area that we worked is build actually capabilities of execution from the top leadership, like we talked about, right up till the middle and frontline managers. The third area we looked at is actually how do you become data smart leaders. And the fourth area we looked at is how do you really network with each other in organization and make execution happen. Because we realized execution is not a one-way street. So it includes conversations, it includes capabilities, it includes data management, as well as it includes networking with each other. So it became like an event in the organization, and it became a 1.5 to 2 years. It's a cultural thing. Basically, it's a culture change. In a way, changing the DNA, which is the hardest. And the other work that we did was on the attrition side. There, basically, the work happened with two layers of management. The frontline leaders as well as the middle managements. We actually culled out 1,000 leaders who are like change managers, because they are handling 150 plus people in their teams, maybe through their team members, but which we could also call the tribal leaders. There's a very powerful book on tribal leadership. So we kind of adopted from there. And there what we did is we essentially first, leveraging the leadership ecosystem, we actually assessed each one of them in three areas. One is their behaviors, second is their productivity, and third is the retention stroke attrition. So each leader was tracked on these three parameters, and we actually categorized them into green, orange, and white. So if you met all the benchmarks and you were green, and if you met 2 out of 3, you were white, and if you met none or one, you were orange. But the way we dealt with it, we didn't want the oranges to feel bad. So we really did a change management across the organization so that everyone is kind of inspired. So all levels of leaders really came down to the field and worked together. And there were a lot of learnings we created out the role models from the peer groups, because the greens were also coming from the peer groups. So there was a movement. People felt if I was orange and my peer was a green, I feel too there's something to learn from him or her, and those kind of conversations, etc., happened. Now, it kind of, gave a lot of movement, and we realized the problem was not across organization. 30% of leaders were managers and change managers where we had to focus. So then the entire leadership community, HRBP, MD, everyone talked about. We have a way to manage, monitor, and predict movements. So these are two examples before I hand over to you.
Thank you. I'd like to build from where Sharmishta, thank you, to left off. See, for us, and I think as everybody would agree, the most uncomfortable space in an organizational hierarchy is the mid-management section, because you're neither here nor you're there. It's like in physics we say, the Schrodinger's cat. You're half alive, you're half dead at the same time, because on the one hand, you've just moved up the organizational rung into the center of the organization, and you're coming to terms with what that means as you lead. And at the other hand, you are also supposed to execute, because your one-ups expect that, you take the baton from them, get it executed. So on the one hand, there is execution smarts. On the other hand, there is an expectation of leadership smarts coming up. And this is this constant dualism that most middle management people end up facing. So for us, the focus area here is three things: the mindset, the skill set, and the tool set. Right? So the very first thing that we do when it comes to operational excellence is, especially for middle management, is to understand that they are now, how the arena has changed. Because otherwise it's not just another role transition. It is basically a transition into a different of management. Understand business metrics. How do you understand people? How do you understand process engineering? It calls for a tremendous shift in mindset and in your own leadership smarts, because you're not being trained. You've been an individual contributor. You've been largely in control of the variables. Now you're in control of people who control those variables, right? So that entire piece. Then you have the skill set, and that is where data comes in, because you're expected to manage scale. So how do you use data to manage scale? How do you bring in your leadership? Understand your style of leadership, what works, what doesn't. And the third part is skill set, which is in terms of where are your capability deficits and delta, and how is it that you can work on it, with it, whether that is about understanding operations better, understanding financial ratios better, understanding your customer, your clientele, technology changing your industry. And to that extent, we look at the three approach, which is basically information, actually using opportunities like industry immersions, because in middle management, you can be so sucked into operations that getting people to think out of the box, getting people to think differently becomes a challenge. So taking them to partner organizations to give them an exposure of what is happening in industry, understanding your processes a lot better. That's on the one hand. Experience could end up speaking to how do you move people from claims to underwriting to legal to operations, so that there is a ringside view and not interdepartmental silos, because at mid-management, you're supposed to break silos to get work done. And the third and most important is also in terms of how do you have career conversations with people to make them understand line of sight, because losing line of sight at mid-management can be very detrimental to business. So you don't just act as a functional leader, but as an organizational leader. And finally, the entire how you provide exposure in terms of providing a coach, because at that organizations' eyes are on them. How do you convey your point with brevity, clarity, all of that becomes. So essentially, using this approach, this is how we kind of focus on operational excellence at the mid-management.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, ma'am.
I'll take a minute to add to this. Like, one of the interesting thing which we observed was that ultimately, if you see, middle management is the base of the organization, and a lot of times actual work happens there, decisions are taken there, and that is where conflicts happen, tiffs happen. And we did some work in terms of like ensuring that while we groom managers, can we also track the relationships between different managers? And that's where tool like relationship map came into picture. And what basically does, like, for example, if I am a middle manager, what is my relationship strength with other managers I'm interacting with, whether that's in green, red, or amber. The moment, for example, it shifts to a green, from a green to a red and amber, you need to start working on it. And that's where, as an organization, we provide support. Ultimately, what we realize is that if most of the relationships are in green, it will have huge impact on overall employee engagement, on retention, and the way your operations or the work happens, ultimately leading to operational excellence.
Thank you very much. Like I mentioned, we kind of stick to time and we've just hit the mark now. I have a lot of questions and I want to ask you all the same question. I'm sure they're all waiting for that. But what we will do is we'll leave that for the networking. Is that all right? Thank you very much. Let me invite Viju and request him to extend our gratitude to the panelists by giving a token of appreciation. Mark, thank you. Pardon? Randeep. Manoj. Sunil. Thank you, Viju. Dr. Marco, I invite you to give the word of thanks.
Thank you, Monica. I would like to thank you all for coming. I know it was difficult. It is difficult for most of you. Thank you for your time. I know your time is very expensive, very precious. You have many, many responsibilities. So I hope this is the beginning of a long-term relationship in which some of you may do some lecturing for us. Maybe when you retire, you may want to join us, full time as academics. I think that's what happens when you get older. You get a desire to share your knowledge and insights with younger generations. I think as a learning and development practitioners, we have a similar purpose in our life, which is about human development. And we develop better people, better leaders, more conscious leaders, and better world. Our purpose, I believe, is about awakening potential. That's Regenesis. That's our slogan. We believe that every human being has amazing potential, greatness. That each one of us has potential so great that we can change the world. And that's what we do as an education institution. That's what you do also as HR and learning and development practitioners. So I look forward to developing this long-term relationship and wish to invite you if it so happens that you travel to South Africa. We'll be happy to host you if you come for holidays. My accent comes from a country called Croatia. So if you come for holidays to Croatia, please we'll welcome you to stay at our place, my home on the coast. And Kenya, Nigeria, wherever it happens, if you come to South Africa, we'd like to take care of you. I know we are not paying you for this, but we would like to reciprocate your kindness and your generosity. And again, I hope this is the beginning of a long-term relationship, and wish you all the best. And please, I hope you'll enjoy my book. There's a little book you'll get as part of a gift. And please enjoy interacting with our staff, or we have academic staff here also, quite few of them, or lecturers. And hope you have a good evening and enjoy some nice food and some drinks. Yeah, okay. So thank you so much again. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
We now open for networking. Please
Recording stopped.
Please do enjoy your